which has been used in the likes of Downton Abbey, Pride and Prejudice, Harry Potter. Today, I've come to a little village in Wiltshire. Well, why am I here? It's one of those places you will have seen on television, in a series, or maybe in a film, at some point. You might say, this is the quintessentially English village. The sort of place the milkman still delivers when you leave your bottles outside the front door. A place completely loaded with that classic Cotswold stone that you find almost nowhere else in the country. One of the interesting things about this village is it's almost entirely owned by the National Trust. It's the sort of place you come across little quirks like this. Where else would you find this in the world? The honesty box system, where you can just pay for your goods, post your money through the letterbox. That wouldn't work everywhere. It's the sort of place you've got half timber framed houses everywhere. Imagine how old this piece of timber is here. How long it's been there holding this place together. And this piece of timber supporting this house here has been here since, according to that little sign, 1390. Look at that. Now that's old. You might be wondering where I am. Well, here's a clue. This is the village of Lacock. Probably the most famous village in the area. Come here. So this is Lacock, with its half-timbered houses, historic streets, and famous scenery. Well, first of all, we've got all these half-timber framed houses everywhere, spectacular looking things. Incredibly old. How they're still standing beats me. Then we've got the church, which of course is open. It is a Sunday as it happens. Look at that moody setting. Beautiful. I think we found the grave of an inland pirate here. Check this out. And we've got a skull and crossbones. Some sort of timer down there. Don't know what that is. Lacock, of course, is one of those picture-perfect villages that you find here and there in England. Not many of them. Which has been used in the likes of Downton Abbey, Pride and Prejudice, and even everybody's favourite, Harry Potter. I think we need to see a little bit more of this village. There's a lot going on here. And there's one thing in particular that I want to tell you about a little bit later on. This Norman church behind me, St. Cyriac's, dates back to the 14th century and has particular connections to a very modern bit of technology that we all use today, would you believe? I will tell you about that shortly. Am I going to get to greet you this time, little ginger fella? Yes, hello. Hello there. How are you going to get down? That's the question. What an amazing place this is. It just invokes calm and relaxation. Yeah, we've stepped into a porthole here. Here, the River Avon, and an ancient bridge going over it. Now, let's have a look. It's a long shot, let's be honest, but I'm like that. Eternally optimistic, on the lookout for wildlife and critters. Well, you may or may not believe this, but we have just had a tip-off that somebody somewhat famous lives around here. And guess who that is? Only Queen Camilla. She's got a place just up the road there. So we're going to see if we can have a little walk in the area, get a little bit of a nose of maybe what it looks like. Who knows? Maybe she'll be out having a walk. The word is, apparently it was bought for her by, well, when he was Prince Charles, now King Charles, way back in the Diana years. So it could be an interesting little spot. We might find it, we might not. It's probably going to be very well secluded, but you never know. It's worth a little look. Well, look what we found here. A little private sign. Private road, no public right of way. If you look really, really closely there, there's 10 SAS men hiding in there. Ready to take me out if I go down that direction. I ain't risking it. As I said, there's been a lot of filming in this area. Downton Abbey, Harry Potter, all that stuff. And this particular bridge has been used in Pride and Prejudice. I don't know where you'll see it. I've never seen it myself, which episode, but this is the one. And right now today, it is extremely busy. And some great big stately home at the end of it. I'm going to find out what that is. So it turns out, this building in front of me is a very important building. That there is Lacock Abbey. And Lacock Abbey is crucial because without it, we wouldn't have the genius and the wonder of photography. Let me tell you why. In 1835, William Henry Fox Talbot invented the first ever photographic negative, right here in this building, Lacock Abbey. He was a clever guy and well connected too, and he used his time wisely. Let's go and take a look at where that first ever negative was taken. It's pretty impressive. This is English countryside at its best. Look at that. The story I've read is that Fox Talbot was on holiday in Lake Como. And back in those days, in the 1820s and 30s, of course, the only way you could capture a scene was by drawing it. And he fancied himself as a bit of an artist, but he could not capture the scene he wanted very well. And he started thinking to himself, if there was only a way that I could freeze this beautiful scene of Lake Como in Italy and maybe paint it later or draw it later. And that got him thinking. This is not the conventional route.
No abbey that can keep us in.
We can bust out of any abbey, no problem. Now William was a clever chap, and he's quite well connected. He knew a lot of people, and he was a bit of a scientist on the quiet, and he was messing around with all sorts of ideas and ways to make this happen. Until one day, he struck on a bit of an idea. William was messing around with silver metal halides and light-sensitive paper and all that sort of thing, and he managed to get a little bit of success. And with that success, he took the first ever negative photograph in the world. There was a little bit of competition at the time, because there was a lot of photographic process going on in France as well. And some say that some other images might have been captured a little bit sooner than old William's, but we like to think that he was the first of catching the actual negative process. During William's trial and error process, he was living in here in Lacock Abbey, and he was inside this room, and there he managed to capture his first image of the reflection of the sun coming through that window we can see right there, that bay window. And if you search now for a photographic image of the first ever negative, that picture will come up from the inside of the room looking out. And so, without William and his incredible invention, you wouldn't be watching this video now. I wouldn't have had years and years of fun of taking photographs, both digital and through the development process on 35mm film. At some point, I even had my own darkroom. Yep, so thanks to the guy living there, is how we're all taking photographs every day of our lives now with things in our pockets and everything else. Yeah, this is where it all started. It wasn't the French, it was us. Old William was a pretty well-to-do sort of guy living here in the Abbey, as you can imagine. And he had all this as his playground, so in a way, it's no wonder he was inspired to take up things like art and photography. I mean, he was looking out on land like this, untouched since the 18th century, or long before, I should think. Here he's got the River Avon flowing at the end of his garden. Who has that? One of my favourite things to do is just sit around by a water's edge, or sit around anywhere really, and just watching to see if nature throws anything up. You never know. You got to be patient with these things.
This is a little weird. There's a whole load of conkers, horse chestnuts here. I wonder why that is.
Do otters eat horse chestnuts? Are they stashing them? Oh my God, absolutely millions of them. Oh, there's a pond, puddle, loads of them over there. Huh. What's that all about? And we are back in the village of Lacock itself. And look at it. If you can somehow eliminate all these modern cars, you have got a completely untouched village from as it would have been in the 18th century. Absolutely amazing. Try and look at that. There you go. How's that? Look any better? These are the sort of perfect shops to get around here. Expect Arkwright to come out or someone. Or Compo and Clegg.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to get one of these as my next road machine. Looks nice. I mean, you got a nice comfy seat. Put a bit of luggage on the back. Carry my foodstuffs inside here. Stock up at the shop. Good for 200 miles on that. Yeah, good
friendly.
for 200 miles on that. You can get yourself a walking stick. Finch hiking stick. Robbing hiking stick. You get some free paracord thrown in with it. We've just come in this little graveyard just to have a little few minutes peace. And we're just walking up here. And what's the first thing that caught my eye? These two graves, these headstones here. And the first thing I see is Talbot. The name Talbot jumped out at me. And I see here Ella Teresa Talbot. And over there, in memory of William Henry Fox Talbot, the one who actually invented the photographic negative process, back down there. And this is where he lies. Most gravestones are black and stone and that. I like the way they've done his in a sort of white with a contrasting black font on it. Kind of like a negative. Thanks for giving me the process and turning me onto the love of photography that's been with me for most of my life. What did we learn today in this perfect village of Lacock? We learned about William Henry Fox Talbot and his photographic process. We learned that this is a picture-perfect village used for lots of filming and making TV series. Queen Camilla has a place just down the road in a little village. We learned that the River Avon runs through. We learned that just there, William Henry is buried with his family. And we had a nice quiet day out on a Sunday. Well, cheers everyone. And on that note, I will see you somewhere on the next one. See you later.